Okay guys, 3 random monkeys back down in the basement, the dungeon. New guitar players, new bass players. You buy an instrument, it's working great, you're happy. A week later, the strings are buzzing off stuff. It's just horrible, the action's high. What's happening? Do you need to go to the luthier and get it fixed? No, this is stuff you're gonna have to do at some point during your career of playing an instrument. So, stay tuned. So I've got some buzzing going on. I've got very low action here. So what I'm going to have to do is adjust the neck. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to take off this plate, and the truss rod is going to be under there. So let's take a look at some of the tools you're going to need. Just basic tools. Okay, first of all, you've got the tools you get with your bass. Okay, you're going to need a screwdriver. I like a magnetic one with different tips, so you can get the right size tip for the right size screw, so you don't screw your screws up, pardon the pun. Ah! And for the nuts around the tuners, I just use a bicycle wrench. 15 mil seems to fit the 4 basses I've got anyway. And because these things will become loose, and while you're messing with it, you might as well, get after it. Another handy tool is a fret rocker. And this fret rocker I got off Amazon, like 15 bucks. And you can measure your nuts, your strings, your pickup heights. It's got some standard suggestions on it. So this is a great tool because you're going to have to measure all of this stuff when you do it. You can use a ruler or whatever. It's got millimeters, so highly recommend this guy. Okay, I've taken the truss rod cover off. 1 screw there. And you can see it's actually a nut instead of a hex socket. And I guess that's what we have the PRS tool here, which is actually like a little socket wrench. Okay, I'm gonna have to loosen some strings here. So let's see what's gonna happen here. This should be interesting. Never done this before on a... So this guy is gonna fit on there. Always make sure that this fits tightly, whether you've got a regular hex wrench, or if you've got the socket here. Because I want to loosen it, and I really don't have much room, but there we go. That was like just 1/8 of a turn. I'm going to go just a little bit more. Maybe that'll do it. Okay, after you do an adjustment, always tune it back up, because the tension on the neck is going to change your relief. Helps if you turn the tuning keys the right way. So we give it a tune. Alright, I think that's good for there. It's still, you got to let these necks sit for like maybe a few days, because they're going to keep moving before you finish your adjustments. So I like to leave the truss rod cover off. So I'm going to try and explain what's going on with the truss rod here, and how does this actually work. Well, the strings are pulling the head. They're trying to fold the neck over towards the body. Okay, the truss rod is just a rod inside that's holding the neck back. Okay, so what happens is it's putting counter tension to the string tension. So when your neck is too flat, when the strings are too low, you need to loosen it, because that's going to enable the strings to try and fold that headstock back, and that's going to give you the bow in the neck that's going to give you the relief that you need in the strings. Okay, and you're usually going to have buzzing up right in the first 2 frets, usually the first one in my experience, but I'm not a bass player. That's where you're going to get it if your neck is too flat. Okay, if you're ending up with buzzing and stuff down in the other frets, usually that's going to be your action height done with your bridge. Okay, once you get the relief set with the truss rod, then we come back to the bridge here. And you can see on this particular bridge, every bridge is a little bit different, but there's little hex screws here, and you want to keep the saddle even, and you just crank on these to raise or screw them in to lower the string. So that's going to lower your action. Okay, so I went to the PRS website, Now that I got my relief pretty good, and I got a little buzzing going on back here with the A string, and just a touch with the E. And at the 12th fret, here's the rocker I told you about. The string should be at 2.2 to 2.5. And I don't know if I can focus on it. No, I can't. But anyway, the A string and the D string need to come up a touch, and the D and G strings need to go down a touch. So to do that, you get your little hex wrench here. You can see it. And it goes into these two. Then you're going to want to do your intonation, and that's where you're going to loosen this screw. And then there's a set screw, which you can see here, which is going to pull to lengthen or shorten the string. So if your string is sharp, then you need to lengthen the string, which means you need to move the saddle backward, which is going to change the length of the string. If the string is flat, you're going to want to move it forward. Okay? And that's all there is to doing your intonation, your string height. We've looked at the truss rod, so we've done the relief on the neck. Pickup height on this particular bass is just these two screws on each one. Okay. Now you can find all of these measurements and stuff on your manufacturer's website, or as a general rule, like this is a basically a jazz bass. So I use some jazz bass figures to try and get the pickup height, because that wasn't on the PRS website. So, and that's all there is to a setup. It's pretty easy stuff. Okay guys, continuing my going over this bass, my jack nut has come loose, so I had to pull it out so I can tighten it, because it'll just spin the jack within the control cavity if you don't do that. Having never done this before, it was this inner nut that was loose. The outer one wouldn't turn anymore. It was like bottomed out, so I had to screw this one up. So what I had is this little adjustable, don't know even where I got it, but it's very thin, and I was able to get that in there. So if you have this problem, you're going to need a narrow wrench to get in there to tighten that. But anyway, that's all tight now. So see the things you go through with, you know, even a new guitar. All right, let's put that back together. No more clacking and buzzing up there, so apparently that did pretty good. I hope this gives you an idea about what you can do with your bass. You know, you're going to be doing this. You might as well just do it. You can't afford to take it to Guitar Center and pay whatever every time the seasons change or your instrument just decides, hey, I'm going to move today. So anyway, 3 Random Monkeys, like, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was some kind of a help. Thanks.